Hey there everybody, and welcome to the final Sakuya update for Kuon. Last time, as you may recall, we ended up having to fight both Dokai and Doryo, finishing off the last two members of our priestly brothers, and, well, we also found ourselves in a rather mysterious underground chamber. Well, things are looking pretty bleak right now for Sakuya. There's not much light at the end of the tunnel, and overall we seem to be in a rather mysterious and dangerous area. Looking at the map here, we see that it's not a very large area, so it shouldn't be too hard to navigate. Also, you may be noticing a bit of a graphical issue up at this wall that actually indicates that, well, this will be another area for us to use the iron wedges that we just picked up. Actually, I haven't seen an iron wedge since I think about the third video. But considering that this is our final portion for Sakuya, we don't have to be as thrifty, I suppose, with our spell cards, so we can go ahead and use some of our more powerful ones. But speaking of more powerful spell cards, I think it might be a good idea to show off that strongest fire card that we have. We will be seeing why I don't really favor using it. It's not so much that you don't get very many of them, it's more of a other handicap that it has. Before we continue on though, behind this partition here we will find one of the last remaining pieces of documentation in the game. This is another leaf written on by one of Lady Fujiwara's servants, who apparently has become a silkworm. Yet again, it seems that whatever spirits are haunting this place seem to be centered around the mulberry trees and the weird, almost supernatural silkworms. So in this chest we get a few more healing items, and also a mention of a tool, but as such I don't think it actually gives you any kind of object. I thought initially it might have been another iron wedge, but well, the two iron wedges we have are was pretty much all we're going to need for the rest of the game. And in this room is a very dangerous fight, very close quarters with these two half silkworm, half human hybrid. And here I show off, well, the most powerful fire spell in the game, but also one that has a very short range. Now in the best circumstances, as you see there, it can actually juggle the enemy up to 3 or 4 times. But on average it might hit 1 to 2 times, and that's if you're lucky. For the most part, the short range usually puts you in more danger than it's worth, and really it's better just to use and spend all the habar you have left. But following that tempest, we start to hear rather ghostly voices and find ourselves shut into this very unhospitable room. We also find the more than likely final note of the servant boy. He mentions, well, he can hear the voices too, and that the vessel is calling him. And all the vessels that have been holding our, well, let's say ill feelings, unwanted, uncleansed thoughts, well, they've all ended up here, in this bloody, horrible reservoir. And the only way to get out is to use our final iron wedge. I think it's best to do that before we're driven insane by the voices. But here in what's labeled the nursery, we see quite a few of these wicker chests, which we now know to be, well, cocoons for the silkworm human hybrids. Thankfully we can't really open any more, and that's probably for the best considering what's probably laying inside. Also, we can take a quick look in this opposing direction and see what appears to be a slaughterhouse of human flesh. Thankfully, we don't really have a reason to go back that direction. There are a few items you can get, but we're pretty good for right now. So with that blocked door, we have no real other direction to go, except, well, a bit hard to see off screen. We can actually keep heading further south. Well, that triggers a rather annoying ambush. They decide to assault us with these, well, well, I was going to say bullet sponges. But basically these enemies just have a large health pool. Can actually be kind of tedious to take down. But as we head south, we'll actually see what appears to be, well, a building.
You will die for that!
We also see our handiwork at burning down that particular mulberry tree. We've apparently taken out one of the twins. But, like I mentioned, we've come across a rather odd building in this underground cavern. As to who might have built this, whether it was the shrine priest from long before, or something more recent, it's kind of hard to say. But it just seems rather odd to put us in such a hellish looking place. But in this room we find our final sacred cloth. And we also find another piece of writing from Doman. In this we find that, well, he apparently knew that the cocoons were not meant for raising the dead, but instead were meant to turn people into mulberries.
So, you're still alive? And as for the other three, they served their purpose.
What? Is that why you sent us here?
The disciples were simply a manifestation of my power. That was my plan. They were the perfect fodder for the Kuon spell.
Oh!
You insignificant creatures have only one purpose. That is to join the dead and complete the chest of 9 grudges.
Doman!
You foolish and stupid child.
And then we finally learn the real truth as to why Doman sent us here in the first place. They were meant as nothing more than food for these, well, horrible cocooned monstrosities. Also, the 9 grudges he was mentioning actually is, well, what Kuon means in Japanese. Pretty much, it's just 9 curses or 9 grudges. But with our final sacred cloth, we're going to go ahead and check out the final 2 locked doors. For some reason or another, they do give us a few more summons cards. I suppose it's fitting considering, well, this room is actually full of female puppets. And they all seem to be laced with the magical silk from the silkworms of the nearby mansion. But the other point of interest in this room is one final note. It's actually another note from Doman. And this one goes to show that, well, his entire reasoning for trying to complete the Kuon spell was merely to, well, show up Abe no Seme. He did it for completely petty reasons. He sacrificed so many lives, the lives of both of his daughters, all of his, well, disciples. And all we can do now is try to escape and maybe get some warning to Abe.
Banish demons and all. Someone... help me. Utsuki! Utsuki, are you alright? You can't stay here. Your sister. Utsuki. Help me! I beg you. What? Don't do that! Utsuki!